This is an examination of the hidden human condition.
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast.
With Tony Bruschi.
Scott Roeder of Evidence Room is joining us to discuss what is going on in the case of Bryan Kohberger and the accusations of murder against the 4 Idaho college students. Recently coming out with information about wanting to subpoena one of the surviving roommates. That didn't go as far as they thought it would. It ended up settling on, okay, we'll meet you in Nevada where you live, and we'll have a conversation there, an interview, if you will. Scott, as an evidence person, what's your take on this? It seemed to go from at 100 miles an hour, we want to subpoena you. You have exculpatory evidence to, yeah, we'll sit down for coffee.
Well, I think it's more of like a deposition. In criminal court, you typically don't get an opportunity to depose witnesses, even expert witnesses. They may have to issue a report, but I've testified as an expert in criminal proceedings quite often, and I have to, reveal to the other side, whether I'm on the prosecution or whether I'm on the defendant's side, we have to reveal our findings prior to court so that opposing counsel can review it and have an opportunity to hire their own expert to rebut my testimony. That's their opportunity to do that. Same thing here. We have a lay witness who's a fact witness who said she saw or heard something that may be in conflict with other evidence that has been turned over. And we do know, that there are many times throughout the criminal justice system, although it's the best system around, it's still not perfect in that a prosecution could have left this girl out deliberately because it creates a conflict. And that's what they're going to be looking at. And I'm surprised they were actually even able to get the opportunity to sit down with her and do an interview out of state, in a fairly informal way. But I think that that's their right, to do that. Whether they find something that's going to be incriminating to the prosecution's case, or if they find something that's going to exonerate Bryan Kohberger, I doubt that. I think what it's going to probably end up being is a little bit of a fishing expedition, and there may be some inconsistencies with what she has to say, with what other witnesses are already on the record as saying, and that could cause some problems for the prosecution, especially if they were trying to bury the witness so that it wasn't discoverable at this early hour. So I think it's still going to be. I'm not sure if it's going to be under oath, honestly.
It's not.
When you testify in front of a court, it's under oath. This may not even be under oath. It may just be a fact, giving the defense an opportunity to probe the witness to see what she heard and what she saw, and if she's willing to go on the record with this evidence. So we'll see. But I think it's going to be pretty casual, and I think it'll probably be not sworn testimony, although it would be documented. And if she's called in to swear testimony in court, which is under oath, they can use that to impeach it.
They're using the line that there is exculpatory evidence that they believe they have with her within some of her statements. Does the defense have to back that up at the end of the day? I mean, and is there any consequences if they do sit down with her? They do have this conversation or interrogation to a certain extent, and it turns out there really is no exculpatory evidence. They were just saying that to try and get another line of communication, another line of testimony in here when they're trying to fish for something. Can they just make this claim and then, well, no, we were wrong? Or do they have to come back with what they're claiming they believe they have if they're going to put someone through this, especially a witness that's already been so traumatized?
Well, I think the key term with regard to if there's going to be any kind of blowback on the lawyers for Kohberger is simply, were they dealing in good faith? Mm-hmm. Did they have credible evidence that they felt in good faith demanded this interview.
Okay.
And they could be wrong, but if they were dealing in good faith and they are wrong, then I don't think there's any blowback or any problem. If they were not dealing in good faith, if they were just going on speculation and innuendo, and then that led to it, and then there's nothing there, well, then there could be potential sanctions for lawyerly misconduct. But then again, it's not really on the lawyer, is it? The lawyer is acting on their private criminal investigator. So I think it would be more on the criminal investigator, if there's nothing there, to demonstrate why he felt his information was based on good faith or not.
What's your thoughts on the Goncalves family wanting to have the gag order lifted again? I mean, they continue to really push for this, and it's an interesting thing because you have to kind of take it from the perspective of a father, a family who just lost their daughter. I think I would actually probably be behaving somewhat like Steve is, a little pushy, a little over the top, a little bit. I'm going to do my own damn thing. I don't, whatever you all say, be damned. But at some point, maybe take the advice of the experts of just let the system play out. We think we got our guy. This could be actually damaging to you if you keep pushing for that. How could it be damaging if this was lifted and the Goncalves family is able to give interviews again and speak more about their feelings on the case and possibly be revealing evidence, theories, just whatever they're saying out loud as they were at the beginning? How could that impact the case, I guess, positive or negative?
Well, I really feel for the Goncalves family, the father, Steve, particularly, because, this is his daughter. He feels like he's going to operate in good faith. But to me, there's a problems. To me, it raises some red flags. If he is still so concerned about getting his version of the events out there, that means to me that he's not confident in what the prosecution is doing. And he thinks maybe they're going to miss something, or that they're overlooking something that he finds important and they've been dismissive of it, whether that's some type of a co-collaborator or something in part of the investigation that isn't being put out in the public eye because it might make one of the victims look bad, or might make one of the surviving people look bad. And he might have a bone to grind on that, or an axe to grind on that kind of an issue, because he might feel that even though, Bryan Kohberger may be guilty, and we'll find out if he is or not soon enough, but there might be somebody else near to this situation that could have caused a situation that allowed this crime to happen, something reckless, something that they didn't know was going to cause this big problem, this big attack, or maybe they feel somebody else is complicit, or maybe they feel there was other illegal activity going on that they feel needs to come to light for the purposes of truth that might have a relationship to, his daughter dying. It's a double-edged sword. I feel for the guy. I think the best advice for him is to try to restrain himself and let this play out. But he knows more than we do. Yeah. And if he feels like he's being handcuffed without a good reason, or for a reason that may not be to the benefit of justice, well, I think you got to listen very closely to him. And but there is a risk of him saying things that could benefit the defense, because I tell you what, if he comes out and says things publicly against the prosecution's wishes, I guarantee you the defense attorneys are going to be all over every single syllable he says to see if somehow they could shift the blame away from Bryan to somebody else, even if it's just mitigating it in some way. That's their goal, and that's what they have their ear to the ground listening for as we speak.
It's going to be very interesting to hear what is going on. I don't take Steve Goncalves as a person who's trying to get in the spotlight or anything like that after the death of his daughter. And the way you put that makes me really wonder, is he feeling restrained? Is he feeling like you're exactly right? Is there something else that he thinks needs attention that is not getting attention, but there's no way else to get it out there unless he's allowed to speak?
Right. Yeah. And he, there's other victims to this family too, but there's 4 victims. He represents one of these 4 victims. I don't hear the other 3 victims' families wanting to make statements or wanting to be so involved. So to me, I wonder, what does he know? What does he suspect is going on that's not getting attention that specifically relates to his daughter? Whether it's one of the other roommates, and that he has information about that. We don't know whether there's activity going on in and around his daughter that he knows about or he suspects, and that's not getting brought out. There could be critical information. The prosecution obviously doesn't want him to bring it out, whatever this might be, because they're looking for a prosecution of this one gentleman, Mr. Kohberger. And I think if there's other potential suspects or suspicious things going on that don't have anything to do with Bryan Kohberger, that could hurt their case. And I think above and beyond, I know prosecutors pretty well, above and beyond anything, when they bring charges and they're getting ready to go to trial, they want to do one thing and one thing only, is they want a guilty conviction against the person that they've indicted, and they don't want anything to detract from that.
This is an examination of the hidden human condition.
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast
with Tony Bruski.
Scott Roeder of Evidence Room, thank you for your insight. Check out his podcast, Crime Scene Time Machine. I'm Tony Bruski. Press subscribe wherever you download podcasts. You don't miss any breaking updates or discussions on the cases that we're following for you right here. Stay with us.